Hey everybody, welcome back to another All Things MSP Office Hours. Office Hours are where we get to talk with subject matter experts in our industry to talk about different hints, tips, tricks, just educational items that you might want to know about. And today is especially good because we have the MSP Business Evaluator. And Paul Daigle is here to talk about it. It's a tool that will help you evaluate your business. And of course, giving your business that evaluation gives you a roadmap then to see where you need to improve, especially if you have a goal in mind of where you want to exit from your business. So with no further ado, let me bring on Paul Daigle. Paul, how you doing today?
Very good, Eric. Thank you for having me.
No worries. Today. Excited to talk about this because I know, M&A is a hot topic in the MSP industry these days. And so for any MSP, knowing where they sit in terms of their business value is important, especially if they're looking at an exit sometime in the next 1, 2, or 3 years.
Yes. That's why we came out with this, and we update the multiples on it. Just by simply an MSP simply putting in 4 numbers that are really relevant to their business, they can find out what peer group they're in. They can find out how much multiples they can get for their MSP, both for a strategic buyer and financial buyer. And they can find out what the EBITDA is within their peer group. And we provide that all for free to the MSP. And we update these numbers and everything else because our group, we review probably, close to 1,000 to 1,500 articles, websites, press releases, and everything else on a monthly basis, not only from the MSP side, but also from the financial services side that are looking to either invest or put capital to an MSP or, do a roll up or do, anything else that an MSP needs to do as their natural progression as they accelerate from one peer group to another.
So before we get too deep into the tool, go ahead and introduce yourself and kind of your history in this industry and a little bit about why you developed this tool.
Okay. Well, again, my name is Paul Daigle. I'm the managing partner of Biz Advisory Board. We specialize in the IT services industry, whether it's MSP and MSSP, the SaaS industry, and also UCaaS and voice over IP. And, all these services are in the IT services platform that, to get an MSP not to sell UCaaS tools, backup disaster recovery, Microsoft tools and stuff like that, they're selling themselves short on providing the customer all the MSP tools and all the tools that customer may need to operate their business. After all, an MSP is an outsourced IT department, outsourced CTO, outsourced CISO, and they rely on the customers rely on their MSPs for any types of communications, inward, outward, and also any type of cybersecurity type of stuff. I'm a recovering MSP. I sold mine that I had for about 20 some odd years. I sold it about 10 years ago, and I grew that MSP by doing mergers and acquisitions and then divesting parts of these MSPs that I didn't want. Like, for instance, or it might have been a break fix at the time. But a lot of these organizations added other bolt-on types of services like web services, email hosting services, and stuff like that. In my MSP, we didn't want that to worry about that. We'd rather send those types of services out. And so basically when we bought an MSP, we kept the clients, we kept the MSP, the backup disaster recovery, the phone services side, and everything else. And we divested the web hosting. And also, as we went along, as we built stuff, we built our own PSA and RMM tool. And we came to the point that we couldn't keep up with the development that the others were doing. And so we're just going to stop our development of these tools and jump on to the more popular tools that thousands of MSPs were currently using. and we're using to grow their businesses. And, we went through that. We also divested other products, DRP solutions, phone systems and stuff like that. So, what evaluation, we used to pay a lot of money, back in the day for people to evaluate, just to have a rough idea. No one wanted to spend just about like 2-3 minutes and go, hey, these are some parameters of my MSP. How much is my MSP worth? And we came up with a way that we can ask those 3 or 4 questions and do it on a kind of like a back of the envelope type of evaluator. It's to like quickly baseline you with generalizations on your peer group that you're in, and then the common issues and common strengths that you have within that peer group. And by doing so, we're able to put numbers for evaluation, tell you how much your business is worth, and then that's the free side. Then we have the accelerator side that actually gives you the blueprint and roadmap customized to each MSP on what they need to do to accelerate through the peer groups. And while you accelerate through the peer groups, you're generating more revenue because it's based on revenue, and then you're also increasing your multiples on what your business is worth.
Okay, so when you're talking about peer groups here, you're referring to something that a lot of people might call the operational maturity levels, because we're not talking about specific peer groups as some people think of them as you go out and you join a peer group. We're talking about the different levels of where your business is compared to everyone else and what kind of strata you are in.
No, very much so. And the thing is, we came up with this all internally with our group and everything else. And this is all like homegrown. This is, all from the heart and all of our experience of our team and everything that we read. And so, it's, we might be using some non-industry terms like what you mentioned, like peer groups. Like there's other organizations that run peer groups and accountability groups and stuff, and not to mix these operational maturity as you're maturing your business from one revenue area to another area. From like 1 million to 2 million and up to 3 million, because the challenges are different for each one of these areas of business maturity,
because they require different things, different modes of operation, because sometimes it's just yourself, then you're adding employees, then you need to add financial governance on top of that, and it just depends on where you're at as to what pieces of that puzzle you need, and that's what the evaluator does for you. It figures out where you are and where you need to kind of go with the accelerator piece.
Yeah, and the accelerator piece, we take a look at the marketing, sales training, legal, CPA, employment, business coaching, industry standards, and human resources. And at each different stage of maturity model, which I'm going to use from now on, thank you very much, is that you got to spend different amounts of your income in these different areas as you mature. And we had that all broken out within our business evaluator in the accelerator portion. And that's the custom type of stuff.
Yep. And as business owners, I know a lot of MSPs don't do that level of planning. And it's really important to know what kind of revenue you need to have coming in, what kind of margins you need coming in to fuel that growth. And that's part of what this does as well, is it helps you look at where you are with those different things so that you can move forward. So,
and Eric, it also shows where you came from, and it shows what at the different levels, the different maturity models on as you make more money, the different peer groups. You spend different, like 9%, 2%, 5%, and it actually gives you an actual budget on what you need to do. And if you follow that, you're going to accelerate your MSP through that peer group, because you should only be in a particular peer group or the maturity model in that particular stage for an infinite amount of time, whether it be a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. And let me tell you, as you accelerate, it goes, as you mature through your peer groups, it accelerates really, really quick. It's like when you first start an MSP, it might take you 3-4 years to get to a point where you're generating over $100,000, depending, or and then $250,000 might only be, 2 years and stuff like that. But, I'm talking, I'm not looking at the evaluator to give you the true numbers, but the true numbers are within
which
the
we'll take a look
evaluator.
at in a bit. But
Okay.
One of the questions that I had is there are other evaluators out there, of course, and what makes this one different from some of those?
Well, you're not going to take hours and hours and hours to go through those evaluators online. And this is very, very specific for the MSP. Okay, you got other business evaluators, but, for the same reason that you don't choose an accountant that does not know the MSP space, you don't choose a business evaluator that does not know the MSP space. Like the MSP space, we also go into what tools you should be using, what PSA, RMM tools, at what level you should be using, and in the cybersecurity suite tools that you should be using, and then also breaking down how much you should be spending for each seat that you have. And so we're very, very specific into the MSP, where, you can't take our MSP tool and find out how much a break fix company is necessarily worth, or your dry cleaner, or an insurance company, or anything else. MSPs, we're very, very specific on who we are. We aim for 75% monthly recurring revenue. Our space is really, really cool because our space is really standardized on a few PSAs, a few RMMs, and to integrate those tools and everything else, especially post acquisition, is really nice. And the expertise is out there to do that. So, that's all. I kind of ran out of words to say.
Okay. There was a lot. There was a lot there, and I think that one of the things that I think is very important to know about this, and you said it very well, is that it is very specific to the MSP industry. And with the accelerator piece, you're not just getting an evaluation of your business, you are getting very specific down to the tool level recommendations as to what tools you should be using and how you should be using them. So that to me would be a very big differentiator over a lot of these that are just trying to get you a value number for a merger and acquisition, rather than I much more like the description of what you say, where you're moving from level to level to improve the business. Now, a lot of times that's so that you can eventually have an exit, but it doesn't necessarily have to be that. And it certainly doesn't have to be that today. But I think one of the things that I certainly did wrong when I was an MSP was I wasn't looking at tomorrow very much, right? And especially in my first break fix business, I didn't do this at all. And everybody has to think about the unfortunate exit, right? The exit that we didn't plan for, where maybe we need to provide for our family, for our employees, in the case that something happens to us. And I call that the unfortunate exit because it's not the one we planned for, right? But it can happen. And if you want the best outcome, making sure that you do something like this and evaluate where the business is so you know what's going to happen in that situation is just something that's good to know and something that's good to plan for.
Yeah, especially for insurances and stuff like that. A lot of people know how much our house is worth, their cars are worth, or anything else, but they have no idea how much your business is
exactly
worth. And that's without your business, a lot of these MSPs they don't have any other way to survive. And it's their revenue. So you look at maybe key man insurance type of insurances and stuff like that. So the proverbial What happens if your IT guy gets hit by a bus? It's not so much the customer, although the customer will suffer, but your family will suffer more. And so, as you grow and you bring on more partners and you do, you keep on building out your C-suite. And we also go into, what your employees, how many employees you should have as low-level tech, if you should have a chief marketing officer, or do you outsource that? And when do you do that within the peer groups as you grow, as you mature your business? And that's all outlined in the Business Evaluator and the Accelerator.
Now, just so that we keep people, watching, we are going to show you the tool here in just a few minutes. But I wanted to, because we've talked about two different kind of stages of this tool. We've talked about the evaluator, the valuation, the free part, and then there's the accelerator part, which is more of the prescriptive. Here's now what to do, not in general terms, but very specifically. So describe more the difference between the free version and the accelerator program so that people kind of know what they're getting with each.
Okay. The free version, you put in basically 4 business parameters, number of years in business, current revenue, number of employees, and then average cost per employee. And then we take and we put you into our algorithms to figure out which peer group or which business maturity model that you fit into. And then we go, this is how much your business is worth, the multiple for a strategic buyer or a financial buyer. Typically, a strategic buyer is going to give you a little bit more for your business, especially if it fits in really good and they're adding you to their portfolio. A financial buyer, a lot of times might want to buy you and be an owner operator type of thing, and then take off where you are. So it really depends on what you're trying to do and how you're trying to do it. But these numbers can also be used to go out and get capital. I talked to an MSP the other day, and they got a new client, and they got to build out 2 more racks in their data center. And they needed like $150,000 to build out those 2 racks. And so there we go. It's we use this to find out how much they're worth. The capital people. Then we contact the capital people and go, this company is worth between this factor and that factor, and they're just looking for a little bit of money. and then once they get that customer on board, then they're going to be worth so much more. And so, we do that. And then also the free version will tell you how close you are to the next peer group, and then how much more you're worth once you achieve the parameters for the next peer group. So say, for instance, if you're only doing $1.5 million in the next peer group is $2 million, it's going to say you're only $500,000 from the next peer group, but you could be worth 4 times more money. And so, it gives you that type of stuff. Also, we have on the free version, if you're looking for a CPA, we have some trusted people that we have listed on there to help them accelerate. Because, going back to, and just people they can call to accelerate. And we're giving that all for free. But if they want the accelerator version, we provide reports, and excuse me for looking over to the right, we provide additional reports that will go more into detail. We go into their financials. We go into the employees, whether they have too many employees for their peer group or not. We go into industry tools that we covered a little bit earlier, the PSA, RMM tools, and then cybersecurity suite. Then we show them a baseline, and then we show them a comparison against their peers. And then we have blueprint and roadmap that goes into financials that actually shows them how much money of the money that they're getting that they should be spending into either internally on their time on say they want to do their own financials, they want to be their own accountant, stuff like that. How much of their time they need to be spending, or whether they outsource that, and then they can figure out their own individualized EBITDA on how much their company is truly worth. Well, they're worth on the EBITDA side. In the old M&A side, the acquisition side, the merger side, they would only go off EBITDA. because they don't understand the value of an MSP with the 75% average monthly recurring revenue, on how much that truly is and how much that really drives a business. So this is a tool that helps merge the two, from the traditional acquisition buyer side and then capital side to the people who have an MSP. Because when you take a look at it, the only people that had high recurring revenues in our history are telecom.
Yep.
And so, telecom and MSP is, the IT, the public services industry and stuff like that. There's a lot of similarities between the two.
And so the valuation, the free part, kind of tells you where you're at and how you compare to that next level. And
correct.
Half of knowing how to get someplace is knowing where you're starting from. And so that's a very valuable thing.
In knowing what someplace looks like.
And knowing what the next step looks like, for sure. And then because you got to know the start, you got to know the end, and then you got to know the path in between. And the path in between, it sounds like, is what the accelerator program is going to give you.
Yes. Yeah. It gives you the path in between. And again, it's like marketing is one of the things that a lot of MSPs need to work with. We give you a budget for marketing. We look at it from the executive level, but there's other organizations that really specialize in the marketing of MSPs. There's other organizations that specialize in the legal issues of MSPs and at different levels of the business maturity models. Like, you're not going to get an attorney. If you're doing $1 million, you're going to need one type of attorney, and it's not the same attorney as you use when you're at $20 million. And so it's that type of stuff, and we kind of hint to that a lot within our accelerator portion. And a lot of people do vision and vision boards and stuff like that, and this will help them go, hey, this is what the other groups look like. And this is what I need to do. And this is how I'm going to be working my year, working a little bit in the business, which is a typical MSP, but working more on the business and driving your team. And as you go through the maturity models, you end up working on the business a lot more than you do when you're a $500,000.
Right, because you're no longer the lead technician and janitor.
Yeah, there you go. Chief cook and bottle washer.
So why don't we go ahead and show them the tool. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up that screen real quick. There we go. Good.
The screen here a little bit. On each one of our screens, you can print out the screen, see what's going on. But basically, we put in the company name, and in this case, I use South Computer Repair, and then the contact name is Mr. Steege South. Phone number, email address, and basically we look at, we ask, what's your purpose of the evaluation, and you go non-competitive interest, development capital, ownership disputes. How many MSPs do you know that they originally start out with the partner and they want to get out, or they want to buy out the partner? Investment, curiosity, and so forth. And then whether they currently have a business coach. A business coach goes a long time with setting goals and objectives. And here, I got ASCII in here. I got Channel Program, MSP 501, MSP Geek, just to mention True Methods, Sierra, C-Level, Pax8. So basically you go select your business coach, and then what you're looking to do with it. Are you a broker dealer trying to put together a deal? Are you investment banking? Are you a fund manager? Are you market making? Are you bridge financing? Are you securities attorney? What are you? And like a lot of times the securities attorneys are the guys that are publicly held companies, and they're looking to bolt on other MSPs or other similar types of organizations to their main seed to share customers and stuff like that, products and services.
So that's kind of an important point that I want to make for those people who are watching this, is that it may not just be MSPs filling this out, right? Somebody else may try and fill out this form to evaluate you. And so you want to find out where you sit so that when other people come and use this same form to evaluate you, that they're coming up with a good answer.
Yeah, they're coming up with a good answer. And the thing is, it's a third-party evaluation. And, a lot of times that generates a lot of calls for us. I sit on a lot of boards that are looking to buy MSPs and UCaaS providers and MSSPs and stuff like that. And this is a lot of times where we start. And for the same reason that the MSP would want to start someplace, and then with the accelerator version, we'll go ahead and give us a roadmap and stuff like that and see, where to spend our money, where do they want to spend their money, and how do they want to build IT services organization. And then again, any type of outsourced professionals that they might have. And again, these are the 8 business segments that every business needs to go through. And the only thing that really makes things different from an MSP and MSSP are the standards and delivery and the compliances of the services and products that they offer. And so here I'm going to say that I already have a CPA doing my yearly taxes. This is where the rubber hits the road. These are the next parameters that we use to actually figure out which peer groups you're in. And so basically we go, how many years have been in business? 5 years. They're doing $350K in business. And if you can look at, if I was 15 years in business and I was still only at $350K, something's happening. Numbers don't lie. Something's happening. Is this a hobby for you? And there's nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. Number of employees they have 5 employees, and they're paying each employee an average of $65,000 a piece. Now that's including the work comp, that includes any insurances and stuff like that. So you got anywhere from maybe a front receptionist or a bookkeeper and stuff like that, but that's the makeup. And then we're actually going to go down the road and show up and show them whether they have too many employees or not enough employees, and what role they are playing within the MSP. So this is all basically the fill out that I fill in. At this stage, this kind of goes, hey, about the author. It tells a little bit about me. It tells about the business evaluator, and it reminds them, the disciplines that are being used, and who's using the business evaluator, and so forth. Then we put some business cases in here, organizations engaging in mergers and acquisitions, and then another business case is what's your business worth. And then what's new in this version. And then it goes about business advisory board and a disclaimer saying, this is back of the envelope type of evaluator. Everybody that does any type of business evaluation, you're only as good as what is being told to you. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing a lot of times, I got to ask the question 3 times in order to get the true answer from somebody. But that's okay. That's what we do. And so, I understand and I move on. And so now is the business valuation report. Up top, it goes through and it spits back out the numbers that you provided. And it tells them that they're in the peer group of 600K. And for a financial buyer, the business multiple is 2.3 to 3.5 times. And we actually put a financial number to it. Anywhere from $805,000 to $1.2 million is what their business is worth to a financial buyer. And just to let everybody know, these values are coming down, especially on a business only worth $350K, because of the compliance and standards are coming out, and a lot of the venture capital, private equity, and a lot of larger MSPs are buying these guys up, and they're buying up these hobby ones, especially if they're not in growth mode and stuff like that. And then it tells, and then it goes, the strategic buyer is worth just a little bit more money for a strategic buyer. Again, for that guy, that owner operator wants to come in and The financial is the owner operator wants to come on, and the strategic buyer is someone that wants to take your products, services, your team, your procedures, policies, and bolt on to what they currently have, and possibly take some of your best of breed type of what you have. And then it tells the peer group EBITDA, and that's how much your EBITDA is, 177K, and the percentage is a negative percent at this level. Here we go on to the next side, is when you achieve the goals of your current peer group, the next peer group is 1 million and your multiples increase. So the business multiple increased from 3.5 previous to 4.1, and just to cut it short, they're worth 2 times more once you're at the $1 million mark. So a lot of times when you go from 1 million to 6 million, you could be worth maybe 5 times more than where you are. But it tells you the next peer group.
Right.
And it says that you are $66,000 short. No, sorry. It shows you how short you are to attaining the next one. And the thing is, that might be part of the accelerator, but I'm going to put that in here. So, come tomorrow, this will be updated, go how close you are to the next peer group. And something that's really cool here is revenue generated per employee, which you had 5 employees is $66,000. The next peer group, it jumps up to $72,000. And this is a very small jump, but when you can get $6,000 more per employee for revenue, that can go towards bonuses and everything else, especially if you're in a growth mode.
Right.
And then here we got, sales training, CPAs, and you can go click on that. But this is what you get. This is what you get as being as the business valuation. These are the accelerator reports. And here we have a financial report. And, it'll come up and it'll say stuff in green. Congratulations on celebrating 5 years in business. You're right on track with your peers to be 5 years in business. The revenue, and it goes in a bunch of detail, and it shows you down below how to read the financial report. I'm going to quickly go through these reports. Here's the employee report. You have 1 less employee than what's in the peer group, and this is the layout and the employees. You have an owner president. You have 1, then you have 2 high-end techs, 2 medium-end techs, and 1 low-end techs, where you have a total of 6 within your peer group. And you're only 1 off, and it might be that these guys are more efficient and everything else than everybody else in your peer group, and so that could be a good thing. Or it could be a bad thing, saying, you're not performing as well because you need to add somebody else. And then again, on how to read that. And go back to the evaluation. Then you have the industry tools. The PSA, RMM, documentation tools, cybersecurity, backup, disaster recovery. And it goes, and it kind of shows where you are and what you're trying to do. There's another report that I want to get to. Here's a baseline report, and this will give you a generalization on where you are, your biggest challenges, the type of organization you are, policies and procedures, where you stand with that, because as you mature, you're increasing those policies and procedures, because as you're employing additional people, they need to follow they need to go by the beat of the same drum. Then you got service packages, service level agreements, how you're dealing with referrals and leads, marketing activities, and so forth. So let me go back and let me get to kind of a really kind of roadmap here. Right now, you're in this peer group. You should be spending 8% of your money in marketing, 3% in sales training, 2% in legal, because most likely you already spent maybe about 4% in the previous peer group to get yourself all legal and papered up with service contracts and stuff. But you'll be able to see that here in a second. 2% in the CPA, your accountants, employee upgrades. You should always be looking to upgrade your employees as time goes along, and especially as you're implementing new tools. A lot of times, an employee that's been doing the same thing for 2-3 years won't want to learn a new tool, where you just have to go ahead, take and replace them. Like going from break fix, you can't take a break fix technologist and put them into MSP space. It doesn't work. There's two different rules there. Then we got the industry standards and delivery, best practices, the PSA and RMM, and human resources. So what we're saying here is about 25% of your revenue that you generate should go back into these different areas that we have outlined here. And again, as all the other reports, is how to read that report and how to go back and forth.
Now, are those percentages of revenue or percentages of profit?
Percentage of revenue, because profit's going to be different for everyone. But because we did a percentage of revenue, we were able to kind of standardize it and stuff like that. Now, when we take a closer look, say, they engage us to do a deeper dive, we look at it both ways and make sure, whatever makes sense. And whether we're looking at from the buy side or the sell side.
From a math standpoint, if I'm trying to grow my MSP and you've given me the percentages of revenue that I need to spend, those percentages are going to add up to a dollar number as well, based on my revenue. And that money is going to come out of profit. So my profit margin has to be that or better in order to actually afford those budget items.
Especially, whether you're in a growth mode and stuff like that. That's why this could come in really handy to get additional capital.
Right.
A convertible loan or something like that to get you through. And this will also give you a timeline on when you'll be able to pay it back. So here's a chart here. We have the different peer groups here. 100K, 200K, 600K, 1 million, 3 million, 6 million, 12 million, 50 million. And this will give generalization. And this is where you see, hey, I'm in the 600K, and this is where I was, and this is how I've grown, and this is what I want to be. And I'll go ahead and I'll give you the multiples in here again. And then it shows you how long you should be in each stage, in each business maturity model here. You should be from year 6 to year 9, you should be in this $1 million group. Then 9 to 11, you should get up to 3 million. And you can see how you get a hockey stick effect here on how fast you grow and then how much you're worth. That's why MSPs like to get the smaller MSPs or MSPs the same size. And if they are very good and reduce and mitigate customer attrition by going from one company to another, and they're very good with post-acquisition on not changing anything on the customer side, but making it so they can handle more with less. And that's a really beautiful thing about the MSP space, is that the tools are out there to make the technicians do more with less. It used to be, if you hire a technician on site, traditionally, you'll get one technician that might be able to manage 50 devices. And as you're an MSP, you're putting in these tools. If you a real good benchmark to have is if you get one technician to manage 350 devices. After those devices are compliant, after you clean them up and everything else, and then you're just taking care of some original stuff. And what I'm seeing now is one technician for every 420 devices out there, with the tools of the AI and everything else. And that's what's really come into this industry, what's made a big change.
Yeah, and that's one of those things. It can be a slippery slope, but I think 350, 500 is probably a good number. I've seen people talk about 1,000. And I think when you get up to that number, you're talking about commoditized IT, which is going to have a completely different value than true managed services or outsourced IT services.
Yeah, as an MSP, you have to predict failure. You got to see, you got to take a look at the logs on everything you're managing and saying, oh, something's starting to go wrong. And it's your job to fix it before it impacts the customer. If it impacts the customer, that's not good news. And you need to mitigate that impact on the customer. on that particular user or the customer or whatever. Just minimize that impact. And by using analytics and AI and the tools that we have in the industry, really go a long ways in doing that.
Awesome. Well, I know we have spent a lot of time on this. Is there any other parts of the tool that you'd want to show us before we kind of wrap up here?
Real quick, back to evaluation. I want to show the EBITDA. The EBITDA sheet, and this is something that the user can fill out themselves. Basically, in this column, we show the EBITDA based on the peer group, but they could put in their own numbers, everything else, and come down the bottom as they putting in all their numbers. And sometimes they might need their CPA and stuff like that to go through it, but come out and actually fill out and show them what their income is, their EBITDA, and their true EBITDA. So now they can go out to market in their P&L. And so that's something that's a huge type of benefit, because that comes as part of the accelerator, and they can put in their true numbers and find out. And working within a peer group or within the different maturity model area, you got generalizations, but when you can really narrow down and find out what your profit and loss is and what your EBITDA is, it goes a really long ways.
Yep. Awesome. Well, Paul, I really appreciate you walking us through this today and offering this free evaluator to the community as something that they can use to figure out where they're at. And then if they want to dive in further with the accelerator, they can do so. How do they get a hold of you, or how do they get a hold of the accelerator, Paul?
Well, got some info. I'm doing the Vanna White. You got some information here. You go to Biz Advisory Board and you go to the store and you can go see the different versions of the evaluator that we have, the free one and then the subscription ones. And the difference between the subscription ones is how many days they're good for. We got the private equity guys that are doing stuff over the course of a year, and they buy the year one, but they can just get the subscription one, and it comes with some free consulting and coaching to actually walk them through a little bit. So there's quite a bit of information here, but we try to put it in bite-sized modules so they can understand it on their own. But if they want help, we're here to help. And there's my contact information: paul.daigle at bizadvisoryboard.com.
Hey everybody, thanks again for watching this episode of All Things MSP Office Hours. This is a tool that I think everybody, especially because it's free, should take advantage of, because everybody needs to know where their business is in order to figure out where they want it to be. And I don't like bringing up dark subjects, but that unfortunate exit that I was talking about earlier, you need to know what's going to happen to the business if something happens to you, because it has value. It has value to the people around you, the people who work for you, and your family. So make sure you know what that value is and what you can do to protect that value. Until next time, have a great one, and feel free to start discussing this in the Facebook group. That's where we love to discuss these kinds of topics, and I look forward to your success.